This is Coffee with Champions. I'm Riley Scott, and today my champion is Nicole Lindhorst. Thank you for doing this.
Yes, thank you. Excited.
You had a very interesting article. I have so many things I'd like to cover with you, but I kind of want to start out. You are a native of Columbus,
Yep.
so
Born
tell
and
me
raised.
a little bit about growing up.
Yep. Born and raised in Columbus. Both my parents were actually born and raised in Columbus, and I just really had no desire to leave. You know, some people think they can't wait to get out of here when they graduate. I never felt that. I went to school at Central Community College and started working right away, and just stayed. So,
Was it a high school romance with your husband?
gosh, no, that's a funny story. That's another story. No, I married my boss.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
it can work. It can work.
yeah. That's a good story.
Before we get into the juicy details, I have to know what you're drinking. It looks fantastic.
Well, I like to call this the Emma because my daughter works out at the mini mug. It's an iced Americano, vanilla. And then the secret to it is the cold foam. So I hate to give away the secret of the cold foam because it is kind of a secret ingredient. The iced Americano with cold foam.
And I love the smoothies here at the Broken Mug. They're amazing.
What's your favorite flavor?
Wild berry.
Wild berry. I've never had a smoothie here. So.
Oh my gosh,
Okay.
girl, you must have one.
Okay.
And we want to thank the Broken Mug for being our host today.
Yep, love their coffee.
So I would really like to know the story behind meeting your husband.
So I actually was living with a high school sweetheart, and he didn't like the job that I had. And so I told a friend of mine who worked in advanced services, if anything pops up, let me know. So Julie called me and said, I've got this job. I think you should go interview. And long story short, I walked in, and it was during the busy season. My husband owns an ag retail business, so busy season this time of the year. And he was late. And so I had to wait for him. And actually, I had to run back home and change because I showed up in a dress appropriate for an interview, and I like to wear dresses. And I had to turn around and go back and put jeans on. So he walks in late, and basically the interview went something like, do you need a job? Can you start tomorrow? How much do you want to make? Okay. And he left. And I thought, well, this guy's a jerk. This is going to be no fun. That was in April. And just chain of events between April and August. The boyfriend I had at the time and the girlfriend that he had, we ended both of our relationships, and not because of the other person, not because of Mark or anything, but and by August we just kind of started hanging out a little bit more because of work events. Like we did customer appreciation events a lot, and so I would go and help him with the events, and just got to talking and realized we kind of liked each other. And he's not really that bad. He's really not that big of a jerk. He was just busy. So yeah, we've been married for 22 years. So
Very
yeah.
nice. And you have 3 children.
We have 3 children. Yep. Emma's 20, Owen's 18, just graduated high school, and Brody's 16. So we have two more years until he's gone.
So I want to get a little bit into your childhood because you are the queen of entrepreneurship. You have been imagining and making businesses since you were a child.
Yes, I have been. My earliest memory is on the driveway at my house. My parents were divorced. And so the reason I've learned early on in life that if I needed something, I'd have to earn it, to work for it. So we didn't have a ton of money, didn't have lemonade at home, but I did have half a package of certs. And so I took water and dropped some certs in it and sat on the driveway and sold lemonade. And I actually had one person ask for a refund. But
That is a hilarious story. I mean,
Yeah.
who would think to do that? How old were you?
Oh boy, I had my first real job at 13, so I had to have been between 8 and 10, probably closer to 8. Probably not old enough to realize that probably wasn't going to taste good. Because apparently I didn't taste it first to know that there really was no flavor. I don't really know. But yeah, by 13, I had my first real job packaging to-go containers at Wonderlicks. I did detasseling, which is how I earned my guitar, and just did lots of things. But I've had at least 2 jobs since I was 13. So I keep telling my husband I'm technically old enough to retire if you do the math, but I'm at least 65. So
I want to talk about the guitar because you earned the money for it yourself and never learned to play it.
I never learned how to play it. The deal was if I bought the guitar, my mom would buy me the lessons. And there really was only one person, maybe 2 back then, that were offering lessons. And I don't know if she couldn't get me in or if monetarily she couldn't afford it. I really don't know for sure. But I never got the lessons. And so she had some friends who could play guitar. And so every once in a while I would go to that person's house and they would teach me a couple, Smoke on the Water. I could do a couple intros, but Never learned.
The iconic ones.
Yeah, yeah, the ones that are important. So it's been sitting around the house for years. My son, Owen, had interest in playing. So one year, Santa Claus bought him a guitar, which looked just like mine. And I got him lessons, but he never took it seriously enough. And so the guitar went back to the storage room. But somehow every Christmas, the guitar comes back out. I have more pictures of my kids at Christmas growing up with that guitar. So I just got it retuned, and Owen is now doing a little bit more. You know, can go online and learn how to play. So we'll see if he learns, but I don't know if I want to take my nails off.
I did notice you have beautiful
Yeah,
nails,
I'd have to
so
cut
that
those
would be
babies
tough.
short to make it work. Yeah, people
And
tell me I can get around it, but I don't know.
you get very calloused hands
Yeah.
too, or finger pads too. So you have done so many different jobs. You started so many different businesses.
Mhm.
How do you kind of decide what you're interested in? Is it just you have such an eclectic taste and it's a little bit of everything?
You know, I've often wondered that about myself. I love to work. I love fixing a problem. If somebody says we should have a blank in Columbus, I'm like, that sounds good. So I'll check it out. That's how supper time started. Somebody said it would really be nice as a young mom if we had meals that we could have and didn't have to cook them. So I got online and I researched it. How could I do this? And opened supper time. When I had Emma and found out I was pregnant with Owen, I think the week after I signed the franchise agreement. So that was tough going through a pregnancy in the food industry, carrying him on my front, those little front baby sacks.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, fast forward. I mean, if I see something as a need, if God puts it in my heart, I feel like it's there for a reason. And so these businesses have all kind of served a purpose and paved a way to where I am today. So I oftentimes have people say, you know, does it feel like a failure that it closed? And I always am emphasizing, like, no, I would rather know that I tried it than say, what if? Gosh, I wish I would have, you know? And if it has to close, it has to close. It's not the end of the world. It's just, it's brought me a lot of experiences and a lot of new friendships and opportunities. So,
I know what I'm going to ask is sort of like asking who your favorite child is, but
yeah.
have you had a favorite business that you really kind of look back on fondly, or is it what you're doing now?
You know, I always think the greatest things are yet to come. And the things that I have in mind that I want to do next, I hope will be like the biggest thing, the best thing. Um, Man, I don't know. I really loved the boutique. Um, but when it felt like it wasn't serving me anymore, it took me a little bit, but then I was able to say goodbye and let it go and close it in January. Well, it was towards the middle of 2024. Um, but there again, it was serving a purpose. I met so many wonderful women. I was able to help empower them with what the clothing was that they had. You know, I had 3 amazing staff, and those friendships I will never, you know, those are the best, you know. So yeah, the boutique was a gift.
Are you easily bored?
No, because I can always find something to do.
Hmm.
But if I don't have a lot on my schedule, I feel like I should be. Like I have a really hard time just not doing anything. But my kids can often find me sitting on my chair at home with my dog, either with a book or watching a show. When it's time for me to stop, I can. Um, but my brain is constantly going. So my phone's there, I'll pick it up and look something up. Make myself a note, you know, like even at night. It's constant.
So, being as you've been very involved in working all your life, you say you really like to work, but also having a family, is it difficult to find that family work balance, and how do you do it?
Well, I was blessed in the beginning with my children because Mark and I worked together. I brought the kids to work with me
Mm.
until I couldn't anymore. And then I was blessed enough that my grandmother babysat them through kindergarten or till kindergarten and then they were in school. Um, but no, I think because I'm still self-employed, so I
Mhm.
still have the flexibility to be able to block my schedule to attend the track meets and the baseball games, the things that maybe we had to go to during the day, the field trips. You know, I'm currently watching 90 minutes of video to redo my safe haven training because in order to volunteer, you have to have that because I want to be able to volunteer and help, you know, the kids at schools. And so I think that's the upside to what I've been able to do is I can block my schedule and be there for those things that maybe a 9 to 5 wouldn't have allowed me to do. So yeah, I always have felt like there's been a good balance. And I think the kids would agree. I did a podcast last year, and Emma was my first interviewee, and that was one of the questions. You know, what was it like having two entrepreneurial parents? And that's one thing that she mentioned. And so I guess that makes me feel good that as an adult, she still feels like I was there for her and was able to teach them what it was like to be, self-employed and to work. The one downside to that, though, is having to work at a young age to provide the things I needed or wanted extra. I shouldn't say needed because my parents provided everything I needed. It was things I wanted, the
Mm-hmm.
extra things. I didn't want that for my kids, so they're maybe a little spoiled. Um, because I don't want them to have to work so darn hard for it. But all three of my kids have jobs and they work, and so
I was going
it's
to
all right.
say, I'm sure you passed on that work ethic to
Yeah,
them.
I hope so. I hope so.
When you are starting a business, and you have started several businesses,
Mm-hmm.
is there anything that surprised you when you first did your first one? Or what's the most difficult thing of starting a business?
Well, unfortunately, with most of the things that I've done it alone, which could be good or bad, but it's really hard to do all the facets of a business alone.
Mm-hmm.
Supper time, I think the demise of that was I couldn't run the store and market the store. Like
Mm-hmm.
being able to take, a Fun Monkey bread bite to a store to let them taste test it, to give myself marketing, opportunities. I couldn't be at the store and be running food. So, the marketing piece has always been hard for me with just one person. So yeah, that's probably
And you said that you've had employees in
yeah.
different businesses. You've kept those relationships going.
Yeah, I have. The three that I had at the boutique most recently were, you know, I don't feel like I should be as old as I am. So I look at the two of them that were younger, like they could be my daughters, and I think they're like best friends, but yet they're daughters. But I was able to mentor them and, kind of help them with the next steps and what they were going to do. And then Chris Frederick was my one full-time employee, and we had known each other throughout the years, but man, until we started working together, like she is the sister that I never had. I have one sister, but another sister. Sorry, Megan. Um, uh, but just those friendships where you can just not talk for a month and then just pick up right where you left off, or they know more about you than anybody else because you just feel safe. Like that's what I had with Chris, and I wouldn't have had that if I wouldn't have had the boutique. Um, and I had a few other friends who helped me throughout the journey in the boutique as well. But those three were the last three that definitely, wow, they're just special gifts for sure. So,
One of the businesses you have is doing colors with people.
yeah.
Explain that to me.
Yeah, so House of Color is a franchise. And when I had my boutique in the basement, which I had the store in the basement for 3 years, I had people who would come down regularly. And this group came down one time, and I'm like, they just look different. What's different? And they had these color fans that they were shopping with. And so if you meet anybody who's ever had their colors done, they're just so excited. Like, I did. And so they were explaining this all to me, and I thought, okay, this is interesting. I can have you come into my home. I can help you find clothes, but if I could find you ones that look better on you, like how could I incorporate this into my boutique? So that's this God moment that I feel. It's like these people came in at this time and I could see this. So I immediately called. House of Color is based in the UK. So Helen answered the phone with her London accent and was like, well, darling, have you had your colors analyzed? And I'm like, no, do I need to? I just want to buy the franchise. So long story short, I had my colors analyzed and fell in love with it even more and decided to bring it to Columbus. But I have 144 beautifully precision dyed drapes, and I go through a series of drapes to determine which ones are best for your coloring. Warmer, cool, brighter, blended, and find out which season you are. And so we talk about makeup and hair and jewelry, and we can do style classes if you want to do that. So it's a lot of fun empowerment for women and men. Men come too, but I really focus more on the women's side of it because I think as a woman, you look in the mirror and you see something,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's good or bad. And if there's a color that you're wearing that's not the best for you, you may see dark circles. You may think, gosh, I look tired today. I look older. My dark circles are really. But then you could change your shirt and that instantly changes how you see and perceive yourself. So I think it's just a gift for women to stop picking on themselves because they can actually see their God-given beauty without having to worry about, it's just a change of a shirt or a change of a hair color. It's simple things, but it's a priceless gift to yourself.
I have to sign up for this.
Yeah, it's great. It really is.
So if you had to take a wild guess, what would you say I am?
Well, I said I love this color on you. She's currently wearing purple, which is my favorite color, and that's the one thing that's hard. You can't look at somebody and guess because it's the undertones. It's a subcutaneous layer of skin that you can't see that determines your season. So there's a lot of things right now that are on Instagram that do a lot of analysis over a screen. It's really hard to do that because what are you wearing that's reflecting on your skin? What lighting are you taking that photo in that you're sharing on the screen? And so it really is important to come into a studio. Plus, there's just so much teaching, and you have somebody who can help you. But yeah, it's hard to just look. You have dark hair, dark eyes. It gives me a path where to start, but I can't say for sure. You could be 3 of the 4 seasons pretty easily.
Really?
Yeah. So.
And what are you?
I'm a winter.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm cool and blue based, but I need bright, high contrast colors.
I like your lipstick. That looks really good on you.
You won't ever see me without lipstick on. That is it's the dimmer switch. If you are wearing the perfect outfit, but you don't flip the switch all the way on and leave this off, I often wonder, have they had their colors done, or are they just nailing the color of the clothing? Because it just finishes. It's the bow on top of the package.
So you belong to a church here in Columbus.
Yes, same as yours.
Tell me a little bit about your faith in your life.
I think God is probably the number one thing in my life. I actually grew up in a Lutheran church, and we called ourselves Priesters. We went at Christmas and Easter. We really didn't go to church regularly. Yep. I remember as a young child always having an interest and would want to go with my grandma and grandpa, and then maybe they'd take me to the Why Not for a shake afterwards, so that was always great. But it wasn't until I met Mark, who was very strong in his Catholic faith. On Saturday nights before we'd go out on a date, he'd always go to church first. And so we started going to church together.
Well, you've been a very inspiring champion, and I loved reading your story. And I would really like to get your autograph on your story if you don't mind.
You bet.
We just happen to have some Sharpies here.
Okay.
And we have red, green, blue, or black.
Would red look weird because I'm wearing a red shirt?
I think absolutely not.
You think I could do red?
I think you could.
All right.
Let me see what your scrawl looks like here.
Anywhere?
Anywhere.
All right. Here's my face.
Very nice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about what you're doing now.
Yes. So I have 2 great buildings in downtown Columbus. Back in 2020, I decided why not buy 2 buildings. That was crazy, but it was good. At the time, I had 8 businesses, so I had something in every room. Of course, I mentioned in January of last year, I decided to close the boutique. I didn't know what to use that space for. I had talked about maybe renting it out to somebody else, so after I'd had it cleaned out, I decided to host a bridal shower for my cousin. We usually would do a party like that in my garage, but I was like, you know what? I've got the space. Let's just use it. And everybody was like, oh my gosh, this is the cutest venue. And they were just like going on and on about it. And I was like, okay, thank you, Jesus. This is it. So that was on a Saturday. And by Wednesday, I had a name. I was on Google. I had a sticker on the window, and I was the district venue. So where the boutique once was is now the district venue. It's a great space. It's an intimate space. It'll host about 50 people. But it's got the Nicole theme. It's got sparkles and diamonds. It's neutral though. It's gray and white. It just feels like you're in a bigger city, I think, is what the most compliments we've gotten. It just feels like it's a bigger city. When I built the boutique, I put in a humongous long countertop. I wanted 2 checkouts and a place to put things. Everybody thought I was nuts. And so when I closed the boutique, somebody was like, well, are you going to take that counter out? And I was like, no, this now is like the best serving line. And so 402 Content Marketing helps me with my marketing in the venue, and he now calls it the mile-long countertop. And it actually is. It's not, I don't know if it's actually a mile, but it hosts food and drinks wonderfully. So yeah, we've got the venue next door to my House of Color studio.
I have to say you're very inspiring because you're an overachiever.
Thanks.
But it's been wonderful talking with you. Nicole, thank you so much for spending some time today.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It was so fun. Thank you.
And thank you to the Broken Mug for hosting us today. And this has been Columbus Champions. I'm Riley Scott.